Okay, so listening back to the last show,
Oh, yeah.
it was rough.
It was rough.
Like, I almost wanted to just, like, delete all the recordings and
Yeah.
disappear into the wilderness.
I think train wreck is a more accurate description than deep dive.
Yeah.
But hey,
Oh, it's bad.
that's why we're here.
Yep.
We are going to do a postmortem on this episode.
Yes.
Figure out what went so terribly wrong and make sure it never happens again.
Sure.
We're calling this a postmortem.
Yeah?
You, dear listener, are getting a front row seat
Oh, yeah.
to our self-inflicted autopsy.
Our source material today is a recording of the previous episode.
Okay.
We affectionately titled it badshow.mp3.
Right?
Don't worry, we won't subject you to the whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll just be focusing on the, let's call them learning opportunities.
Right.
Right.
And the fascinating thing is,
Yeah.
by analyzing what went wrong, we can actually learn a lot about effective storytelling.
Yeah, I think so too.
What works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
And most importantly, what you, the listener, actually want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's dive right into it.
Okay.
I think one of the first things that jumps out,
Yeah.
not in a good way, were all the unnecessary tangents.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I went on and on about Amalia's motives, the rules of the game, player skill levels. It's like I was trying to single-handedly write a dissertation on the history of tabletop gaming.
And that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those tangents, while maybe interesting in another context,
Yeah.
completely derail the story. Remember, you, our listener,
Right.
came here for a specific deep dive.
Yeah.
You want the information, the insights, the story.
Yes.
Not a lecture on random trivia.
Okay.
Imagine trying to follow a recipe
Right.
with someone constantly interrupting to tell you about the origins of each ingredient.
Right. Right.
Sure, it might be interesting, but it's also incredibly frustrating.
Ouch. That analogy hits a little too close to home.
Yeah.
And speaking of disrupting the flow,
Yes.
we also had a terrible habit of interrupting the action at, like, the worst possible moments.
Yes.
Like right when Finn was about to respond to Amalia's question.
Oh, yeah.
Bam!
Yeah.
We jumped in with analysis or commentary.
Yeah. Think about it this way.
Yeah.
You're engrossed in a movie
Right.
on the edge of your seat,
Uh-huh.
and suddenly the director pauses the action
Yeah.
to explain the symbolism of a certain prop.
Oh, yeah.
Infuriating, right?
Yes.
It completely shatters the immersive experience.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we were doing.
Ugh. Okay.
Remember when the party arrived at the antique shop?
Oh, yeah.
This is a quote from what you said.
Listen,
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with the party all rested from your meal and ready, you get up from the table and you leave the Mariner's Rest, stepping out into the salt marsh streets.
I know.
Why not just fast forward to the part where they actually reach the shop?
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of telling instead of showing,
Right.
which is a cardinal sin in storytelling.
Uh-huh.
You, the listener, want to experience the journey, not just be told about it.
Okay, yeah.
You want to hear the creak of the tavern door, the salty breeze whipping through the streets, the murmur of voices in the marketplace,
Right.
not just a dry summary of their movements.
So instead of narrating every single step,
Yes.
we should jump right into the scene at the antique shop.
Yeah.
Let the dialogue and the characters' actions drive the story forward.
Precisely.
Okay.
Remember, you're smart. You can follow along.
Right.
Trust us to give you the key details and let the narrative unfold naturally.
Okay.
Less micromanaging the story, more letting it breathe.
Got it.
It's about creating an engaging and immersive experience for you, not just ticking off boxes on a to-do list.
Okay, speaking of ticking off boxes,
Yeah.
I think it's time to address the elephant in the room. Or rather, the mountain of repeated information
Oh, yeah.
that was cluttering up our last episode.
Right.
We got so bogged down in these endless recap loops,
Yeah.
repeating the same information over and over again.
Yeah.
It was like watching a movie where every 5 minutes they show you a flashback of what just happened.
Ugh.
It's insulting to the viewer's intelligence.
Yeah, those recap loops are like quicksand for a deep dive.
Right.
You get stuck and the momentum just grinds to a halt.
Yeah.
Remember, you, our listener, value your time.
Right.
You don't want to hear the same information repeated multiple times.
Okay, so less regurgitating the past, more exploring the unknown.
Yes.
What else did we manage to screw up?
Well, let's talk about our unhealthy obsession with game mechanics.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were so focused on dice rolls, character stats, and special abilities
Mm-hmm.
that it felt like we were doing an accounting report instead of telling a story.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Oh,
I think you spent an eternity explaining the intricacies of Finn's magical staff instead of letting him actually use it.
yeah, that was bad.
Remember, the story should always be at the forefront.
Okay.
The game mechanics are just tools to facilitate the narrative, not the main attraction.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Okay.
We were so caught up in the minutia
Yeah.
that we lost sight of the bigger picture,
Yes.
which is you, the listener,
Right?
and your desire for an engaging and entertaining deep dive.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a good reminder to always step back and ask ourselves,
Uh-huh.
what's the point of this information? How does
Wow.
it serve the story? And most importantly,
Yeah.
will it keep you, the listener, on the edge of your seat?
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of losing sight of the bigger picture,
Oh, yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there's something a little less obvious,
Mhm.
a little more subtle.
Yeah.
It's not just about avoiding tangents and recaps.
Right.
It's also about making sure the details we do include are
Yeah.
actually engaging and informative.
You mean how we kind of glossed over the description of the antique shop?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Instead of that cinematic experience I promised,
Yeah.
we gave you a list of objects that would make a tax assessor proud.
It was pretty dry.
And it's a shame because that shop was teeming with narrative potential.
It was.
You, our listener, were ready to be transported to another world,
Right.
to feel the weight of history in your hands.
Yeah.
Instead, we gave you the podcast equivalent of a flat pack furniture assembly manual.
All right. All right. I get it.
Right.
We dropped the ball. Big time.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to learn from my mistakes.
Okay.
How can we make sure our descriptions are more than just descriptive?
Think about appealing to the senses, creating an atmosphere, piquing your curiosity.
Okay.
For example, instead of saying, the shop is dimly lit by a few oil lamps,
Right.
we could have said, the air hung heavy with the scent of aged parchment and cedar, a hint of brine clinging to the back of your throat. The dim glow of oil lamps cast long, dancing shadows on the walls, illuminating shelves crammed with a jumble of curiosities. A tarnished silver compass gleamed dully from beneath a stack of maps, its needle quivering as if sensing some unseen force.
Okay, wow, that's a huge difference.
Right.
I suddenly feel like I'm actually there,
Yeah.
breathing in that musty air,
Mhm.
feeling a shiver down my spine.
It's about painting a picture with words, not just listing objects.
Okay, so less inventory checklist, more sensory symphony.
Yeah.
Got it.
You got it.
But what about moments that aren't as atmospheric?
Sure.
What about the scenes that are more about action?
Same principle applies.
Okay.
Instead of just stating the action, we need to dive into the how and the why, the details that bring it to life.
Uh-huh.
For example,
Yeah.
remember when the party was making their way to the market district?
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of just saying, so, you start making your way towards the market area,
Right.
we could say something like, the cobblestone streets, slick with a recent rain, echo with the clatter of your boots as you weave through the bustling marketplace. Vendors hawk their wares, their voices competing with the squawk of gulls overhead. The air is thick with the scent of spices and fresh-baked bread, mingled with the less savory aroma of fishmongers cleaning their catch.
Okay, that's definitely more engaging.
Yeah.
Suddenly I can see the scenes, smell the smells, feel the energy of the crowd.
And that's what we want.
Okay.
We want you to feel like you're right there in the thick of it, experiencing everything alongside the characters.
Okay, so we've covered descriptions.
Yeah.
But what about dialogue?
Sure?
Surely there's room for improvement there too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Think about subtext, intention, the unspoken emotions simmering beneath the surface.
Okay.
Remember that scene with the bartender?
Yeah.
Instead of flatly stating, he looks up and smiles and says, well, hello there. What can I get for you? We could have given him a bit more personality.
You mean instead of making him sound like a cheerful robot programmed to dispense beverages?
Exactly. How about this? He glances up from polishing a chip tankard, his smile more weary than welcoming. What'll it be? He rasps, his voice rough as gravel.
Wow, okay, I get it.
Right.
That one small change
Yeah.
gives us so much more information about the bartender's character, his backstory,
Yeah.
mood.
And it makes you, the listener, pay attention.
Okay.
Who is this guy?
Right.
What's his story?
Yeah.
It's a subtle way to add depth and intrigue to even the most mundane interactions.
So less robotic dialogue, more nuanced characterization.
Yeah.
Check.
You got it.
But you know what else was incredibly robotic?
Okay.
And frankly unforgivable?
What's that?
Our complete disregard for your requests.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about those moments where you, our listener, asked us specific questions
Right.
or requested specific actions, only to be met with silence, vague responses, or worse, complete disregard.
And that, my friend, is the ultimate betrayal of trust.
I know.
You, the listener, are the heart of this deep dive. Your
Yeah.
input, your engagement, your curiosity, that's what makes this whole endeavor worthwhile.
Right.
Ignoring your requests is like throwing a bucket of ice water on the embers of our shared experience.
Ugh, I cringe just thinking about it.
Right.
Looking back, our responses were, well, let's just say, not our finest hour.
Yeah,
It's like we forgot that this is your deep dive
That-
as much as it is ours.
exactly.
Yeah.
We need to be more mindful, more responsive, more proactive in incorporating your feedback and requests into the narrative.
So less dictating the story, more collaborating with you.
Right.
We hear you, loud and clear.
Good.
We're committed to making this a truly interactive experience,
Okay.
where your voice is valued and your input shapes the journey.
And that brings us to another crucial element of a successful deep dive,
Okay.
the art of pacing and momentum. Remember how we got bogged down in those recap loops?
Don't remind me.
Those moments where the story ground to a halt?
It's like we were driving with the parking brake on.
Oh, we just kept spinning our wheels.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. You, our listener, are on a journey with us.
Okay.
And just like any good journey,
Yeah.
there are moments of excitement,
Mm-hmm.
moments of reflection, moments of breathtaking beauty,
Right.
and moments of heart-pounding action.
Okay, I'm liking this analogy.
Right.
So how do we make sure our deep dive has that same sense of momentum, that same feeling of forward motion?
It's about being mindful of transitions, knowing when to linger and when to move on.
Sure.
It's about trusting you, the listener, to follow along, to fill in the gaps, to embrace the mystery.
So instead of hammering home the same point over and over again,
Right.
we trust that you're smart enough to remember key details.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we can use subtle cues, like a change in music or tone, to signal a shift in focus.
Okay, I'm starting to imagine our deep dives as more cinematic,
Okay.
less like a clunky slideshow, and more like a well-paced film.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that's what we're striving for, an immersive, engaging experience that transports you to another world.
Well, I have to say, for an episode dedicated to dissecting our failures,
Yeah.
I'm feeling surprisingly energized.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've turned those cringe-worthy moments into fuel for growth.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
And a huge thank you to you, our listener, for sticking with us through this rather unconventional deep dive.
Yes.
Your willingness to engage, to provide feedback, to help us learn and grow, that's what makes this whole journey so rewarding.
And remember, this is an ongoing conversation.
Yes.
We're always learning, always evolving, always striving to create the best possible experience for you.
Right.
So as we close out this deep dive, we leave you with a final thought to ponder. What kind of magic do you want to experience in our future deep dives?
Oh, that's good.
Let us know, and we'll do our best to make it happen.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, this is your deep dive as much as it is ours.
Right. You know, for an episode dedicated to tearing apart our worst show yet,
Yeah.
this has actually been kind of cathartic.
I think so too.
Like we've purged all those bad habits
Yeah.
and cleared the way for something new and improved.
It's like we finally cleaned out the garage, you know?
exactly.
All that junk is gone.
Yeah.
And now we have space to actually work on something new.
And the best part is we did it together.
That's right.
You were right there with us every step of the way,
Absolutely.
holding our hands, offering words of encouragement,
Yes.
and maybe a little tough love
Yeah.
when we needed it.
Sometimes you need a little tough love to
Sure.
realize you're headed in the wrong direction.
Speaking of directions,
Okay.
I think it's time to shift gears and talk about a topic that's close to my heart.
Right.
Character names.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, our inability to remember them, pronounce them,
Yeah.
or just generally keep them straight.
The infamous Amalia Molly debacle.
Oh, it was bad.
I think we lost a few listeners that day.
It's like I suddenly developed a bad case of name blindness. I mean, I'm usually pretty good with names, but for some reason, those characters just wouldn't stick in my brain.
And that's a problem because
Yeah.
clear character names are essential for immersion.
Yeah.
You, our listener, need to be able to follow
Right.
who's doing what, who's saying what.
It's like trying to watch a movie where everyone has the same face and the same voice.
Right.
Confusing.
It's very confusing. And it's not just about getting the names right.
Right.
It's also about using distinct character voices.
Okay.
Giving each character their own unique personality and presence.
Okay, so we need to work on our character development and our pronunciation skills.
Yes.
Got it.
You got it.
What else can we do to create a more immersive experience for you?
Well, remember all those promises of cinematic descriptions?
Oh, yeah, the grand pronouncements of evocative language and rich imagery, which sadly never quite materialized.
We had the best of intentions,
Yeah.
but somewhere along the way,
Yeah.
we lost sight of the goal.
You know, I vividly remember one such moment. I said, all right, so we head into the shop. Describe it for us with one of those beautiful cinematic descriptions that you guys do.
Okay.
And what did we deliver?
Yeah.
A laundry list of objects that would make a museum curator weep.
It's like describing the Mona Lisa
Yeah.
as a lady with a smile.
Right.
Sure, it's technically accurate, but it completely misses the point.
Okay, I see your point.
Yeah.
We were so focused on getting the details right that we forgot to breathe life into them.
Exactly. A good description should transport you, the listener, into the scene.
Right.
It should make you feel like you're right there, experiencing it firsthand.
So less telling you what's there.
Yes.
More showing you how it feels.
Exactly.
Got it.
All right.
What else can we improve on?
Well, I think we've covered just about everything.
Right.
We've talked about tangents, recaps, mechanics, descriptions, character names, listener requests. It's been a thorough deep dive into our own shortcomings.
You know what?
Yeah.
As painful as this whole process has been, I actually feel optimistic.
Good.
Like we've identified the problem areas and we're ready to start making some serious changes.
And that's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Recognizing our mistakes, learning from them, and striving to be better.
And we couldn't have done it without you, our listener.
That's right.
Your feedback, your patience, your willingness to stick with us through thick and thin.
It means a lot.
That means the world to us.
So as we wrap up this rather unconventional deep dive, we leave you with one final question. What kind of deep dives do you want to experience in the future?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What topics, what stories, what adventures will keep you coming back for more?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Okay.
And we'll do our best to make it happen.
Awesome.
Because at the end of the day, this is your deep dive as much as it is ours.